You are Locked On Clippers POSTCAST. Part of Locked On Sports Los Angeles on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Well, welcome into another Clippers POSTCAST on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel, the place to hang out when every game is done and when the season is done, as it is now for the Clippers. You can also check us out on the Locked On Clippers podcast feed, which will also be on hiatus after tonight, for me anyway. The Locked On Clippers podcast will continue. I am Pete Fox, covering sports in LA for ESPN LA and NBC Sports Radio, dating back to 2007. Tonight's show is brought to you by Monopoly Go. Monopoly Go. If you have that competitive spirit, team up with your friends for tournaments to unlock awesome prizes, unique stickers for trading, cool playing pieces, and hilarious emojis for taunting your friends. Download Monopoly Go now for free on the Google Play Store and the Apple Play Store. Game on. Clippers, not surprisingly, lost this game, and it wasn't really close. 114-101. It was close in the first half, which I guess was fairly surprising. I think PJ Tucker had a lot to do with that. But more than anything, really, let's be honest about this and give credit where credit is due. The reason the Clippers lost this series, especially tonight and a couple of nights ago, was the Dallas defense and Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. Yes, Luka Doncic. Yes, he should have gotten a technical foul for getting up in the referee's business and saying that's BS and not nonstop chattering in the ref's ear. Didn't get a technical. The referee just kind of buried his head and went about his business. Not surprising. He got star treatment there, right? Guess that's what we expect. Kyrie Irving is lethal. I am not a Kyrie Irving fan, but it is hard to not give his game respect. He is unbelievable when it matters. I have said for a long time that he is the best ISO on-ball guy in the league, and he showed it again in this series. Not a ton of points, but clutch, huge points when they were needed for Dallas. And then, actually finished with 30. I don't think he had that many in the first half. I wasn't paying too close attention, but I looked about midway through the second quarter, and I think he had 10 or 12 or something. So huge second half for him. His plus minus was plus 22, 5 of 9 from beyond the arc, just cardiac threes from Kyrie Irving. I mean, it is just remarkable, fun to watch. He outdueled Luka by 2 points. Luka had 1 3, 9 of 26 on the night, 43 minutes for 28 points. Gafford 13, PJ Washington 14, and Jones Jr. with 6. Derek Lively 10 points, which was meaningful to me because I had him in a prize pick with Norm Powell to go above their numbers, and his number was 8. He finished with 11, so we were sweating it out there down the stretch. But it was good, and I like winning. So that's that. Some positives come from this, that it was a win for me. And look, let's be honest. Mavs fans, you deserve a round of applause. And you should feel good about yourselves and feel good about this team, that they have a real shot at making this series against the Oklahoma City Thunder very, very interesting. I think the 4 teams that are left are the 4 best teams, and that's the way you want it. It is unfortunate for the Clippers. It's unfortunate for Clipper fans that we are here now, but I'm not the least bit surprised. When you lose by 30 in Game 5, which, by the way, in case you missed it, was the biggest playoff loss margin in Clippers history, then you shouldn't be the least bit surprised. I think you should be upset and disappointed. It's kind of the way I'm a Kings fan as well, and the Kings lost a couple of nights ago, and they were eliminated by the Edmonton Oilers, and I feel a similar feeling now. It should have been better. It could have been better. The team was not a bad team. They're good. They're just not good enough. And who do you point to for that? I mean, I don't know. You could point at Kawhi Leonard and say, yeah, Kawhi Leonard's part of the problem. But I think a bigger part of this thing is the age of this team, right? We all want to just pretend like that's not an issue, right, Craig? We just kind of go, well, they're not that old. No, they're the oldest team in the league. Oh, it's fine. You know, James Harden's a stud. Paul George is a stud. Like, I know that it's been talked about in the comments a little bit, not a lot, not as much as it should be. I mean, I want to say that even the opponents, the opposition, has not thrown that barb, that dig at the Clippers enough. Like, if I was an anti-Clipper fan, that would be the first thing out of my mouth. And this would be second, because you're right. Harden and Paul are not clutch players. They were definitely not clutch tonight. And I don't know. I mean, I don't want to get into a whole where do we go from here thing, because that's not my job. That's the Locked On Clippers podcast job. But we're going to do it a little bit. We're going to spend a little bit more time on this game. The first thought that came across my head watching this game early on was the Clippers look sloppy. But I would credit the Mavs defense for that. Yes, Breaker Esports. The defense dictated once again. The reason the Clippers were so sloppy was because of the Mavs defense and bad looks upon bad looks. And it was just, the aggressiveness, the aggression was there. That was a big problem a couple of nights ago for Paul George, especially not aggressive enough. James Harden, iffy aggression at times. And beyond that, we know that Russell Westbrook is just way too aggressive. So I don't think that was the issue. I think the bad looks were not because they weren't aggressive enough. It was because the Dallas Mavericks were just all up in their business. They were setting up camp inside of their jersey and their head. It was obvious. And there was just nothing you could do about it. Even at the end of the half when they were tied at 52, I was like, yeah, the second quarter, much better across the board. So many things across the board better in the second quarter. And since there's not a lot of good to talk about at the end of this game, I'm going to hold on to that for just a second. We're going to take the first break. Denzel, time to blow it up. I don't believe you're wrong. I believe that has got to be in the thought process of the LA Clippers. Have to think about where you go from here. What is next for the Clippers? A good point guard would be helpful. Yes. But they need youngsters. They need guys like the Oklahoma City Thunder have. Hey, wait a second. That Shai Gilgeous-Alexander guy, he's pretty good. Who did he used to play for? That name rings a bell with me. Why do I know that name? Yeah, I know. There's a lot of comments about that as well. So blowing it up, I don't know. At some drastic reshuffling, let's call it that. Rebuilding. I don't know. Something's got to change, because what they've got going now, not going to last for very long. All right, I'm Pete Fox. This is the Locked On Clippers postcast on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel, the place to hang out when every game is done. And you can listen to us on the Locked On Clippers podcast feed. All right, tonight's postcast is brought to you by Monopoly Go. Do you have that competitive side like I do? Well, if you do, you should check out Monopoly Go. I'm sure you've heard of it. It's been downloaded over 150 million times. It's a great twist on Monopoly, where you play on not one, but hundreds of Monopoly boards in crazy locations. You can build up amazing cities that bring you big money. But the best part is messing with all your friends that are playing on there as well. You can charge them rent on iconic properties, just like on Classic Monopoly. And now you can also rob their vaults of riches for yourself. And the leaderboards show who is the biggest Monopoly tycoon. You can team up with friends and people all around the world in time tournaments to earn huge rewards. So get in the game, join your friends, download Monopoly Go now for free on the App Store and the Google Play Store. All right, Clippers fall, losing the series 4-2. They lose this one 114-101. It wasn't that close because the Mavs, they took their foot off the gas because the Clippers were just out of it at the end of the third, giving up Remember, it was tied at the half, 52 apiece. They gave up 35 in the third, and Clippers only were able to manage 20. They won the fourth, 29-27. Too little, too late. Let's talk about some of the good things and then get into somewhat abbreviated bucket list. I didn't think anybody deserved to be number one on tonight's bucket list when you lose 114-101. As far as things that we liked in the second quarter, I think that were good, that made us feel positive and made us feel like, hey, maybe we've got a shot here. Now, nice ball movement, right? They were moving the ball well in the second quarter. They couldn't stop the Dallas alley-oop thing to Derek Lively, and I believe PJ Washington got in on the action. It was just continually working for them. It was not something the Clippers ever really figured out how to stop. But Norm Powell made a difference. They went on a 15-2 run, so give Norm Powell a round of applause. He did everything in his power. Another fantastic performance off the bench for him. I mean, he's one of two guys that if I was going to blow this thing up, I would keep around. Terrence Mann is the other one. And I think you have to keep Kawhi Leonard around, but I wouldn't break my back to do it. They have a huge contract. They just upped him for 2 or 3 more years. So it's going to be hard to get rid of him. I think you're stuck with him at this point, but if they could find a way to move him, I wouldn't have a problem with him going and Paul George going and James Harden going. And I didn't think I would say that 2 months ago. So as far as I'm concerned, they're all too old and this team needs to be younger. Look who's left: Denver, Minnesota, Oklahoma City, and Dallas. Now, Dallas is not necessarily young because Kyrie Irving is old, but doesn't seem to be a problem. That dude's an absolute stud, and it was huge in this series in the last 2 pivotal games for the Mavericks. So as much as I'm not a fan of Kyrie, I couldn't help but just go, wow, that dude can play. Just unbelievable. And I felt that way when he was in Cleveland, winning the championship with LeBron. It was just amazing. More of that from him tonight. And Harden, playing defense. He was doing a little bit of everything there in the second half. So he looked really good. On to the third. Gafford, that push on Zoo at the 8:37 mark of the third, I don't know if it was a pivotal moment, but it definitely did not help the Clippers. And it was 100% a foul. He extended the arm. I don't know that he extended it fully, all the way out, elbow straight. He did enough. He got him with the shoulder and the arm, pushed Zoo off of him, and then went to the rack for the and one. I'm like, what? How is that not a foul? I mean, that was the most egregious foul I saw all night that didn't get called, other than Luka with the technical where he was barking at the referee. But again, I know how it goes. I understand the game. Star treatment for the stars. That's the way it goes. They don't want Luka out of that game. They don't want Luka potentially out of that game. Let's put it that way, because one technical would not have sent him to the bench, but it would have gotten him a lot closer. And the fact is, they don't want that. They don't want that. It's like the Kings against the Edmonton Oilers and Connor McDavid. Connor McDavid, any little thing he does, falling down, penalty. And of course, we know the Edmonton Oilers power play is lethal. But we're not here to talk hockey. We're here to talk basketball. But it was a similar feeling in watching this game. Like Luka's over there yelling at the ref, complaining like he does. Wah, wah, he touched me, flopping all over the place. Tonight was just, it was the Mavs doing what they do at their best. And there was no way for them to deal with it. What is this comment, BC? Kawhi is never playing in the playoffs. Lakers dodged a bullet. Yeah, I don't know what the deal. Kawhi to me is a huge enigma. I don't get it because he has 2 championships. Let's just say that he won the championship in San Antonio because of Tim Duncan, right? And that San Antonio team, he was not the star there, although he did win Finals MVP, right? So that's worth something. It's not like he was just a bench guy. He did participate. He did contribute. Then he goes to Toronto and wins that series basically by himself, right? Pascal Siakam was there, who's good. But I like that series, you can't take away really a lot from what Kawhi did in that series. I was talking to a friend about it, and he said, yeah, but and he's a Warriors fan. So he's like, yeah, but that Warriors team was pretty beat up. Klay Thompson wasn't there, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm like, yeah, but it's hard to get to the finals. And Kawhi Leonard took the Toronto Raptors to the finals, and they won. So it's not like he's inexperienced. I feel like at this point, is it just like, hey, I got my hardware. I'm good. I'm home. This is where I'm from. My family's all around. I'm getting paid, truckloads full of money. What do I need to prove to anybody? He's definitely not Kobe Bryant, who always felt the need to, prove something to somebody. There are guys like that out there. I don't believe Kawhi Leonard is one of those guys. He's like, I'm cool. It's all good. Whatever. I'm injured. Really? I really felt bad for Kawhi sitting on the bench because he looked so sheepish. He sat there just sad and embarrassed, and just that he had like kind of hunched over and like his shoulders forward. It wasn't sitting there proudly, shoulders back, head up. No, he's all just hunched over, sitting in his seat off to the side. And it looked like, he didn't care. Like he wasn't the least bit upset that this Clipper team was getting smacked night after night in this playoff series, right? Yeah, they won 2. One of them was they were up by 31, and it was a nail biter at the end. So, it was a fun series for a little while, but the last 2 losses, there was nothing to feel good about there for the Clippers. Yeah, a good quarter is nice. That's all right, whatever. At least we didn't get completely embarrassed and shellacked like 2 nights ago. But yeah, I don't know what's up with Kawhi. I can't figure it out. I don't know why he doesn't seem to have that gritty attitude. It just seems like he is more willing to just sit on the bench and be like, I'm hurt. I mean, when Kawhi came to the Clippers, yes, people were excited, but they also said over and over again across the board, Kawhi is an injury waiting to happen. He is this far away from being injured. And whether he was injured or not, really injured, Kawhi getting ready for the Olympics. Yeah, wouldn't that be ironic if he goes out there and, he's 100% now because I don't have this trophy yet. I need a gold medal. I'll have to wait and see how that goes. That's a really good point there, Grace. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't think he was that injured. I think if he was Kobe Bryant or anybody like Kobe Bryant with that state of mind, they're out there. They're out there playing, right? Like Luka. Luka wasn't 100% through this series. He had a cold, sinus or something. If that was Kawhi, he'd been sitting on the bench. Oh, I don't have my Excedrin. I don't think he's tough. He's a great basketball player. He's a very, very good defender, but he's not tough. He doesn't have that want to, right? And generally, which is ironic because generally when you're a good defender, you have that want to, because you got to have the want to play defense because it's all about effort. Kawhi Leonard does not seem to have that want to. He's just like, I don't need to. It's fine. I like basketball, but I don't need to. I definitely don't want to, but I have to because it pays me, a crap ton of money. All right, let's get to the bucket list real quick before the final break. In at number 5, on the final game of the season for the Clippers, PJ Tucker hits his first 3 in the corner. It made it 6-5 Mavs at the 10:03 mark. That was nice to see. I thought PJ Tucker was really good tonight, and I think they made a big mistake by not having him on the floor more because his defense, his energy, very good. Nothing against Amir Coffey, but I think PJ Tucker was more meaningful because he's more of a veteran. He has more experience, and as far as shooting the ball, they're pretty even. But the defense aspect that PJ Tucker brought was definitely valuable. He did a really, really good job tonight dealing with Luka. For number 4, PG3 from a beautiful pass from Russ, which I loved seeing that Russ wasn't trying to shoot at this point. It was at the 3:25 mark of the first. It made it 20-18. He was still out there playing D, running around, not, crashing the boards overly aggressively, passing the ball. And that's a much better position for Russ. So that was nice. And the 3 from Paul George was also nice. And then Paul George was blocked. This is number 3. And then he got his own rebound, got it back, and made a layup at the 2:04 mark of the third. That made it, of the second. That made it 48-46. So the Clippers were right there hanging around, not going away. And again, they ended up tied at the end of the first half. And then number 2, and the final bucket list of the season, Russell Westbrook, who made a nice steal or came up with the ball on a steal, ran the break to the rack, lay it up and in at the 3:17 mark. It made it 74-66. He was fouled and made the free throw. So the end one was nice. And Russ, deserves credit when he makes shots like that, but it's not very often because later in the third and into the fourth, started penetrating and missing 2 of 7. He only took 1 3, so that was also nice to see. Finished with 6 points. Norm Powell had 20. The bench had a grand total of 28 points for the night. As for the others, Paul George finished with 18, 2 of 10 from beyond the arc. At the end of the third quarter, the Clippers were shooting 22% from downtown, going 5 of 22. Again, they were outscored in the third quarter by 15 points. Zubac's 6 of 11 for 17 points. He had a solid night, but the defense was making life hard on him. And James Harden, 43 minutes, so he was not going away quietly. 5 of 16, 0 from beyond the arc, and 6 of 7 from the line for 16 points. Terrence Mann, 39 minutes, 5 of 9, 2 threes for 14 points. And I knew when James Harden missed his first 2 threes that it was not going to be his night, and sure as heck it was not. And that's an unfortunate reality. But when he doesn't hit in the first couple, it just doesn't seem to be there for him. And that was the deal again tonight. So I was kind of down and out. Like I felt bad right out of the gate thinking that's not what we need. That's not what we're looking for. And that's not going to help the Clippers when James Harden misses his first few threes. All right. Season comes to an end for the Clippers as they fall 4-2 to the Mavs. 114-101 the final tonight. This is the Locked On Clippers postcast. Thank you for joining me here on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel and listening to us on the Locked On Clippers podcast feed. Tonight's show also brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience are what brings home the winning trophy. It's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, like superchargers, roof racks. I purchased one of those for an expedition on eBay, and it was exactly what I wanted. Very reasonable and was easy to install. Exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more, like brakes. I've purchased brakes there many, many times, and they're always considerably cheaper than the auto parts store, like a quarter. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered with over 122 million parts. For your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for, and with eBay's Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or you get your money back, and that works for sure. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to take your car to the next level and turn it into the MVP and bring home that win. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay, Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. All right, Clippers fall 4-2, losing 114-101. A lot of people have this thought. You're not alone, Yusuf. Time to rebuild this roster. Yeah, I don't think that there's any future when you're the oldest team in the league. Pandemic P, Russell Westbrook, and James Ball Hog Harden. What is the rest of that, Rowell? Are you just throwing nicknames, making fun of them? Well, they deserve it. I don't think there's a future with this team, right? Who do you keep around? Norm Powell is fantastic. Terrence Mann's fantastic. And Zubats is good. Zubats is young. So those 3 guys, I don't think are going anywhere. Bones Highland, maybe. Obviously you got to keep Kawhi Leonard around. Maybe you move Paul George and James Harden. I don't know. Yeah, I don't think you can have that much age. And yeah, Westbrook, Craig, I feel like he was good, but again, he was good, and we found ways to praise him and be positive about what he was doing, but we also criticized the crap out of him because he's just out of control. And I know he's 35, and it shouldn't be that way for a dude that old. But I mean, he brings 100 every night, and you have to respect that. But he made the Clippers a little better at times, but he also made them worse at times. And in LA with the Lakers, it wasn't much different. It was a little bit better here, only because Westbrook brought a better attitude, right? When he was with the Lakers, his attitude was crap. And then as a member of the Clippers, he kind of knew that he had to change that, just like James Harden did, right? James Harden changed it as well. And that's to his credit. So I don't know if you run it back with him. I just like going into a new building. I think it's the perfect time to blow it up, right? To get some new young energy in there. Go into this new building with a young team that Kawhi Leonard is the anchor of, because you're stuck with him. I don't know that he's the kind of guy you want out there as your leader of a bunch of youngsters, because he's not a gamer. Like, he wouldn't provide any sort of inspiration for a youngster to improve and get better. I just don't think he's that guy, but I think you're stuck with him. You have to hope that he stays healthy and comes to the game wanting to play, but that's a coin flip. That's a huge question mark. So yeah, I do not look at this team and go, well, they got beat because they're young and the future is bright. I just shake my head and I go, it's going to be interesting next year. They're and I don't know how the contracts break down. They could be stuck with Paul George too. I don't know what's going on with James Harden's contract. I'm not a cap guy, so they might be stuck with all those guys, and they might have to run it back. So we'll have to wait and see. I right now I'm not feeling super positive about the future for the Clippers. I look at this team and I go, yeah, they can win 50 games, 40 games, 45 games, but what does that mean in the playoffs? Squad douche. It means nothing. The Dallas team was terrible for most of the year. Got a couple key additions late in the season, and boom, they're a defensive juggernaut, and they have a real shot at beating the Oklahoma City Thunder and moving on to face the winner of the Nuggets T-Wolves series. So the Final Four, it's going to be great. It's going to be fun to watch. I will be paying attention, but more than anything, I'll be watching Dodger baseball on the Locked On Dodgers postcasts and the Locked On Dodgers podcast feed. So that'll do it for us here on the 2023-24 Clippers season. The postcasts for this year are over. So if you are a diehard Clipper fan, you're going to have to pay attention to the Locked On Clippers podcasts, which will continue through the offseason. But I will be back with you when the regular season starts again next year, or at the end of this year, rather. And in the meantime, I'll be talking to you on the Locked On Dodger postcasts after their game for the remainder of this season. And then we'll also be talking about Chargers football and Trojans football during the football season. I'll be doing postcasts for those games as well. Thank you all. Appreciate you tremendously. It has been fun, and it has been a good ride, but not great. And that's not your fault. So you have all made it tremendously more enjoyable for me. And I appreciate you for that. So one more time, thanks for joining me here on the Locked On Clippers postcast on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel and the Locked On Clippers podcast feed. Have a good weekend. We'll talk Dodgers very, very, very soon.